History buffs, welcome back. If you survive the shockers from part 1, get ready for the second round of the spine-tingling revelations about the Vietnam War. We have already explored 580 normal things, but the story doesn't end there. Today we are delving even deeper into the chilling pages of history to uncover 5 more unsettling truths. Brace yourselves for part 2 of 10 scary things that were normal during the Vietnam War. Let's jump back into the darkness. Number 1. Psychological Warfare Operations. One of the most effective strategies employed by America was psychological warfare, which aimed to manipulate the minds of the enemy. In this war, success relied not only on weapons and firepower, but also on emotionally destabilizing the guerrillas and breaking their willpower. The 4th Psychological Operations Group, an army unit responsible for destroying Viet Cong morale through deception and manipulation, was tasked with this mission. According to Vietnamese tradition, proper respect must be paid to the deceased through a religious ritual, and the body should be buried in their place of birth. Failure to do so is believed to result in the spirit wandering the earth, haunting the living. The 4th group exploited this cultural belief by organizing a psychological terror campaign known as Wandering Soul. They created artificially manipulated voices and combined them with horror movie sound effects to create a haunting atmosphere. The recordings featured individuals claiming to be the ghosts of guerrillas who fought against the United States and died on the battlefield. They lamented the lack of a proper burial, condemning them to wander the world without the chance to reach paradise. The spirits warned the living not to repeat their mistakes and to avoid confronting the Americans. The US Army considered the operation successful, as it deterred many individuals from joining the ranks of the Viet Cong. Number 2. Strange payments to spies. What we have seen are traps set by the Viet Cong to capture American soldiers, but they were also used against the Vietnamese by infiltrated spies. As in all wartime conflicts, espionage played an important role in the strategy to win the war. This was one of the most dangerous tasks, as there was always the risk of being exposed by someone loyal to the Viet Cong. The consequences ranged from extreme torture to death. However, the most surprising aspect of being a spy during the Vietnam War was not the job itself, but the methods of payment. Many spies were recruited in rural areas where physical money was not commonly used. Therefore, they were initially paid in rice, tools, and medicines that they could use in their villages. When Vietnamese spies began demanding more valuable rewards due to the danger of their task, the CIA came up with a rather peculiar solution. They decided to offer spies items from the SEAL's catalog as payment. Payments were made per completed mission, and they requested all sorts of things, ranging from Western clothing to household items. The problem was that it became dangerous to request such unusual items, as it revealed with individuals and families had engaged in espionage, leading to their immediate capture and elimination. This practice was cancelled shortly after implementation and was replaced with American currency payments, which were more difficult to trace. Although many spies were still discovered and executed as a lesson. Number 3. Prisoners and torture. What we have just seen is a grim exhibition showing a recreation of the torture inflicted on captured soldiers during the Vietnam War. As in all wartime conflicts, torture and executions were commonplace on both sides. However, the Viet Cong became infamous for executing some of the most terrible and inhuman torture methods ever used. To begin with, prisoners were held captive wearing shackles that completely immobilized them. This way, they could not defend themselves from the torments they were subjected to, nor from the animals that roamed the filthy cells, such as fist-sized spiders, hungry rats, and thousands of deadly mosquitoes. One of the most common torture methods was to bury bamboo splinters under the victim's fingernails and toenails, pushing them in a bit further each day. They were also inserted into the nostrils and ears before being burned and charred. The most popular method involved putting the prisoner in long sleeve shirts, which were tied to their backs. Then a torturer would step on the victim's back to begin the torment by forcibly stretching the prisoner's arms until their shoulders were almost dislocated, completely cutting off circulation in the victim's limbs. They even went so far as to cut the flesh of the prisoner's wrists down to the bone. But because the pressure from the shot acted as a tourniquet, they would not bleed, and they survived to endure all the pain and suffering. When they finally decided to end a prisoner's life, they would tie them tightly to a tree and force another prisoner to cut their throat with a bamboo branch. This procedure was one of the most agonious a person could be subjected to, as it could take up to 6 hours. Now for the role of Vietnamese women. Vietnam would not have achieved independence without the contribution of its women, ranging from rural women leading guerrilla forces in the countryside with makeshift weapons to female officers in the military. The so-called long-haired army, composed entirely of peasant women, played a crucial role in the Viet Cong's victory. Their weapons consisted of sharpened bamboo sticks and kitchen knives. One tactic used by these female guerrillas was to disguise themselves as street vendors. And when the target approached, they would reveal a deadly stick. This weaponry could be as simple as sharpened wood, or even have a knife at the end, like a homemade bayonet, with which they attacked their victims' necks. During the Tet Offensive of 1968, the Viet Cong carried out the assault on the US Embassy in Saigon, a famous event that made headlines worldwide. However, no newspaper mentioned that it was a group of women who carried out the attack. In fact, the leader of this offensive, Liang, was assassinated a few days after the event as a warning by her rivals. There were a significant number of women in the armed forces, many of them in leadership positions. In fact, approximately 40% of regiment commanders in the army were female. While most Vietnamese girls did not work full-time in the military, they collaborated with self-defense units, local militias, and regional guerrillas. They fought when the region was under attack, defending themselves with trenches and traps. And last year, and necklaces. Shortly after entering the war, Americans realized that this war would be different from fighting the Nazis. They were now fighting an invisible enemy hidden in the jungle, who would kill them when they least expected it. To counter this, they created the Tiger Force, a small guerrilla unit tasked with imitating the methods of the Viet Cong and hunting down the communists. The Tiger Force began its operations in 1965. However, over time, its members became consumed by bloodlust and accustomed to death and murder. Their intense hatred for the Vietnamese caused them to lose the ability to differentiate between innocent civilians and Viet Cong members. Anyone who encountered the Tiger Force, regardless of gender, age, or origin, was considered a target. Among the unit's many crimes were the torture and covert execution of prisoners, shooting unarmed individuals, the abuse of women, and the beheading of infants. Their main objective was to instill terror among the population. One of the most disturbing customs of the Tiger Force was cutting off the ears of the deceased and stringing them together as a necklace. Although certain officers were aware of these crimes, they chose to conceal them to avoid tarnishing the army's reputation. These shocking facts came to light in 2003 when a journalist uncovered a classified military file. The exact number of Tiger Force victims remains unknown, as they did not keep a tally themselves. However, it is estimated that hundreds of people suffered at their hands. We are almost done with this video, and we would like to hear your thoughts on which piece of information from this second part surprised you the most. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching today's video, and we are excited to have you join us for the upcoming installments of the military.